when you advertise something on radio or on TV and you expect that you've communicated to people who are going through floods in informal settlements, that's a height of stupidity.
100%.
That's the height of stupidity because
is slums, other than say, I was going to say Kibera.
Mhm.
A lot of our slums are typically close to riparian land or close to a river.
Now, we are going to be talking about President Ruto's upcoming trip to the U.S., so please start typing. Give us your comments. What do you know about this trip? What do you expect? What do you want? Are you going to be going to see him in Atlanta? He's then going to come to Washington, D.C.
For the
You're gonna come to
ATLians.
Washington, D.C. to see him. I don't know what the rest of the rest of his itinerary is looking like, but the D.C. part will be a very controlled environment because this is an official invitation from the White House. It's not just a random trip that the president is making here. So all the media will be focused on him. So I hope he's prepared because the media here, man, they do their research before they come and start asking questions to, like when they're interviewing presidents who are coming in here. You better come correct. You better be prepared. I'm sure they've been following what's been happening in Kenya with the El Nino rains, with the floods, and with the home demolitions. The DJ Moshfire, let's talk about those demolitions because you brought that to our attention. Just maybe for those who've not been following Kenyan news, why are houses being demolished in the slum areas?
So typically, and a lot of people may not realize this, a lot of our slums, other than say, I was going to say Kibera, a lot of our slums are typically close to riparian land or close to a river.
Okay.
Nairobi River in this case.
So basically a place where you're not supposed to be building.
It's no man's land.
It's no man's land. Okay.
Yes, because in Kenya, it's 30 feet from water coming inland. Is supposed to be no man's land.
Okay.
Which is why basically you see you can jump from hotel to hotel on the beach in Mombasa. You can just walk the beach line and go from hotel to hotel. A lot of people don't know that because they normally put security guards who try to...
Which is illegal.
Correct. They try to push guys away and stuff
If you blink, though. If you blink.
Correct. Remember that the Maasais... Remember the Maasais who are beating up on those security guys?
That actually was a beach in Zanzibar.
That was...
Yeah, those Maasais...
Okay. That was in Zanzibar?
That was in Zanzibar.
Okay.
Yeah, that
So
was a beach
if it's me and Omosh, tutachapwa Nyahunyo.
Yeah.
But if it's Ali atambiwa Buddha boss, Peter too.
No.
Why?
Light skin. Twende.
You're very funny. But anyway, so a lot of our slums in Kenya, Mathare, Kinamukuru, a lot of those are built on riparian land. And what's happened now because of Nairobi River swelling, or what do we call
banks
it? Swelling,
busting,
swelling the banks, right? The banks are overflowing, and normally during rainy season, those particular houses are always flooded anyway, and it ficas maybe waste or something like that. So it's manageable. At this point now, the houses are actually underwater. People are getting swept, and so kama huku warada or whatever, you'll wake up when you are opening your mouth and you're in water, and let's say imagine it's a double-decker na mtoya malala chini, hypothetically.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what they decided to do was when they saw what was happening with the weather forecast, they said that they were going to move folks, or folks need to move, and it's a mandatory movement. So if you don't move yourself to higher ground, you will be moved.
Yeah.
So they actually went in to move people. But this movement meant they were coming in and moving you permanently. It wasn't like, okay, we are going to move you so that when, things go back or the water subsides, apana. They have come in, and even high rises or whatever it is, which a lot of folks have taken advantage of, they've put up high rises as well. So they've come in and they started destroying this high rise.
So I'm curious, like if this is no man's land, does it mean that if I show up as Ali, because it's no man's land, I can just go and build a shack or a structure? or is there like an informal system of someone who's approving? Because I know for a fact that I can't just show up and build. So who's giving authorization for this stuff? Because people are paying rent. Because on those
Correct.
on those structures that have been built, people are actually paying. There's someone
Correct.
who's receiving rent.
And before you answer that also, you know, that directive came from the president.
Yes.
That people should move.
Yes.
Question now becomes, what resources or what was deployed to inform people or to let people know that a directive has been brought down,
Yes.
right? And people need to move. That is one. Two, if you're going to move, this is the place you need to move to, right? If
Yes.
you're going to move, this is where you need. If you're going to move from Roro, you've been told you move to Bowie,
Correct.
and this is how you're going to go. And we have given you
10K.
3 days or 4 days.
But there was also 10K in there. as
Yeah,
well,
no,
right?
there's 10K for that. But this was a directive that was brought down.
Yes.
Question now that was being asked was, what information was, or how was the information disseminated to the people so that, one, you can get yourself ready, pack up your things,
Yep.
and move.
Yes.
Because this is going to whatever. Because you had a report of the child who, a lady goes to work, ameenda kutafuta unga.
Yes.
Yeah, ameacha mtoto.
What happened to them, Toi?
The house was destroyed and the kid was
Kids-
killed.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the child died.
Yes.
And this was, if the directive came today, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yes.
Just the same as, just as much as when there was a directive that, there was no information about schools opening
Yeah.
while it was still flooding and raining. At 1 a.m. Monday, schools are closed. And by then, the official decree is that schools are closed. And already by then, parents and students had already started their travels.
Some had reported.
Yeah,
Some had already
Some had
reported.
reported. Yeah.
Travel
Because
very long
if you're a
distances.
parent who could not make it on Monday, you'd have made sure your child was there. If you're
Umemweka
the one-
kwa
yes.
basi,
Na ameenda.
kwa train, or
In some
mathri,
cases,
or whatever,
pengine
na
ulimpeleka.
ameenda.
But I think what the government, at least what the government said, at least what I heard them say, is that this information had been announced in mainstream media na katika magazeti. So here's my that's what they say.
The official page of the Ministry of Education posted at 1 a.m.
No, yeah, that's for the school opening, but I'm talking about the demolitions, or rather
Okay.
the evacuations.
I was talking about me.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you
you're
so
going.
yeah.
He was basically.
Yeah, we are talking about
So
schools
okay,
opening.
it's two things, but he was alluding to communication.
Yeah.
With these
Communication.
guys, it's not their.
But you see, according to what they said, like or at least what they allege, and I think it's accurate. They said that this they had already told people to
Start
move to
moving.
higher ground.
Yes.
Which people?
The people who are on that riparian land.
Which higher ground?
They are told that's what they said. They told people to move to higher
Just
ground.
move where there's no water.
Yeah, like they also claim that there were specific shelters that had been listed. This is what they were claiming. But here's my problem.
Was the 10K part of this sheltering?
So the 10K, I mean, not to
That
confuse.
is I think for the move.
That's something separate. But I think
Yes.
what the issue is, according to what I heard on by this community activist from Mathare who was talking on
Yes.
on Spice
on
FM,
Spice.
he said that when you advertise something on radio or on TV and you expect that you've communicated to people who are going through floods in informal settlements, that's a height of stupidity.
100%.
That's
The
the height of stupidity
assumption is
because
that these guys have radios, and B, these radios are working. C, they could afford batteries in these. I'm just saying, and I'm saying batteries,
and not
right?
only that, they are watching.
But yes,
They are watching while trying to figure out how to rescue themselves from floods.
And remember, their electricity 99% of the time is these these bootlegs that are being connected through sijui nini,
Through
which
through
means
the
that
transformer.
that chap of theirs has told them, boss, vile kuna mvua hii kitu ni lazima tufanye nini to disconnect.
Here's the thing. I mean, like that lady, how was it? I would like to know how it was communicated to her that the structure, the house that she was living in, was going to be demolished. Because had she probably known that it was going
she
to
would
be
have made
demolished,
arrangements and made
if
or
anything,
been there and taken
or been
her
there
stuff out.
and
yes.
taken her key. Her
The announcement, I don't know that the announcement was for people to evacuate or there is a pending demolition.
So
I'm not
pending
sure.
demolition is one thing.
Yeah.
Pending demolition is one thing.
Yeah.
Notification for demolition is happening today. That's another thing. Because a pending demolition meaning, okay, there's going to be demolition. Sawa. That is one thing. Demolition is going to happen Friday at 8 p.m. That's another thing.
So I don't think there was an announcement of the demolition, but there was that announcement that people need to go
move.
vacate
Correct.
to higher ground.
Correct.
Because I think, like if the government had announced a demolition, then I think people would have taken, there would have been protests, there would have been so many. So I think the government tried to take advantage. It's something that I think they've always wanted to do, and they saw this as an opportunity.
This is an opportunity.
Yeah, to do that.
I think, if you guys remember Chief Karaoke.
That was a long time ago. I don't think a lot of people remember.
So Chief Karaoke was a chief somewhere, I think in Rift, not Rift.
Was it Nakuru?
Nakuru somewhere, Rift. People in his community, he had a communication system that he would post on Twitter, but they would receive on their phones.
They would receive by text.
By text.
Yeah.
On their Simus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And actually, he even gave a TED talk on that. He actually talked about how they came up with a system to notify. So if somebody was to report that a cow has been stolen and they call him, Chief, ng'ombe imeibiwa, anatuma message.
It's the Amber Alert.
It's like an Amber Alert.
It's like an Amber Alert, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a question would have been, it would have been nice to send an Amber Alert to let people know
But the
there's
Amber
demolition.
Alert, but the Amber Alert we normally use.
No, I'm giving...
I get what you're saying.
It's
but
not an Amber Alert,
no,
but for...
Yes, but what I'm saying, the Amber Alert we normally use in communities like that is you have people on the ground, these chaps who walk door to door, whether it's the chief, whether it's the I don't know,
yes,
MCA,
there you go.
whether it's I don't
there
know whoever.
Go.
They go door to door and they knock. And in a situation like this where you are evacuating people, what you do, just the same way as we do with a fire drill in a building or whatever, you have those stewards or whatever they're called, right?
Marshals, whatever.
Yes, the fire marshal. Or, yes.
The guys who have been designated as employees.
And they sweep. Everybody has an area. They start from this place and they check as they're going and making sure, checking offices, closing offices, and keep going and continue going. In a situation like this, where you're even checking and where you're saying, guys, you need to get out, and you get out now, you would walk and go down. I would even literally go with a marker or even paint. You mark that door as you keep going. Say, this one has been checked. Tuendele, checked. That way, these jokers who are coming with bulldozers, at least munajua, even if it's property that is property you can always get. Life, you can't.
No.
The deputy government spokesperson could not communicate thoroughly that information had been disseminated, people had been warned, they had done everything, they had checked all their T's and they had checked all their T's, crossed their I's, or is it cross their I's and the T's? That one.
Yeah.
He could not ascertain that.
Could not articulate
he could not articulate himself and articulate that.
Yeah. Washeke says the government is not serious. They don't consider logistics involved. They just issue declarations overnight. The deputy government spokesman couldn't provide a credible answer as to whether residents had been given prior notice. So I think this is one of those things that are problematic, and I know disasters happen in different parts of the world.
Correct.
They happen even here in the US and many other parts of the world. Brazil also had a similar issue. But for us, it seems like we never learn from
it's
previous.
every year.
No.
Every year.
But if you recall, during COVID,
yes,
UK's government. Let's look at how the protocols were, how things were going. Interior CS. Remind me his name. Matiangi.
Yeah.
They would have briefings, every day? He would have a briefing every day.
It was probably twice a day, but yeah.
Mutahi Kagwe, CS of Health.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. What was going on? Whatever
and
articulated.
what's that position? CAS.
cars.
The lady who was
Yes.
The lady, yeah.
yeah.
In this, but because this one, I think this was just as bad. But where was
They should have set
Where
up
was-
they should
where
have set
was-
up a system like that actually.
no system was set up
Yeah.
to help people? Because you're telling people to move to
Yeah.
higher ground.
And tell guys,
But not even-
come to KICC or something.
So you're
you know,
telling-
this is
you're
ground
telling-
zero. You come and you report and
You're-
whatever, and we look and we sort you out.
Because you're telling guys to move to higher ground. Where exactly is higher ground?
Now, with my background in disaster management, this thing is done at different levels. From the very lowest level, the very
Correct.
lowest level
Correct.
is the residential level. You know, like there should be a blueprint of what to do in case something happens at the very residential level, and then you know, like at the community level, at the neighborhood level, at the community level, and then now these other ones. Now these other ones that come on top, they become effective if there's already an effective plan at the very bottom level. You know, like people know where to go. They know
Evacuation
you know, like what to
routes,
do.
blah blah blah, all
Yes.
those things.
Yes.
And in case there's an emergency, go look for your chief or your whatever, and this is where they're things like that, right?
And even sometimes I'm gonna try to look for those documents. We used to have documents of have an emergency bag.
yes,
like in
yes,
case-
yes.
In case
Even
something
now,
happens.
even now here in the States, they tell
Yes.
you to do a go bag.
Yes, have a go bag.
Have a bag that has, you know, like it may have your important documents or
Yeah.
whatever.
A
blah, blah,
survival
blah.
kit.
a survival kit.
And then also have a a ladder, you know, like in case of a fire where you know you have to work it on the side, you know, one of those collapsible ones, and you can climb down from it because you may not be able to get to an exit. You know,
Yes.
depends upon where you live, but have a way of, you know, it'd be nice if you have a fireproof safe, you know, in your crib or something like that, and at least can, you know, keep your documents in case of a fire. But they always tell you this all the time. Try and do certain things and make sure, you know, have a fire extinguisher in your house, you know, have flashlights, you know, those things of a blanket in the car, you know.
Yes.
It's
very simple things that but could make the difference between life and death.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, and even knowing doing things like CPR, you know, like in case you are in a car that's drowning, you know, like that's sinking in water. What exactly do you do? Do you close the windows or do you open the windows and get out? You know, like that. These are some of the small things that I think people are not very familiar with. And then, of course, later on in the show, we're going to be talking about President Ruto's trip coming to the U.S. Number to call 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Later on in the show, we're going to be talking about music. Our artists. Should artists be paid for interviews? This has been a trending topic in Kenya for this week. For a number of reasons, we're going to be talking about that later on in the show. You can start dropping your comments and letting us know. Now, real quick, when it comes to diaspora, where do we come in, you know, like when it comes to disasters back home? Because we've previously been accused of sensationalizing from a distance. We've been accused of spreading negative information. Now, not us, but just diaspora in general. So where does diaspora role come in? And then there's the issue also of assistance. So maybe Omosh, let me start with you. Where do you think we need to come in? Where do we need maybe to dial back a little bit? What exactly should we be doing once we start getting this information, live information from family, friends, where we are seeing that things are not going well?
For me, I always look at it this way. You know, whenever there's something that happens, and I'll use COVID as an example, and I'm not going to use the floods now as an example, even though I guess I should, right? But
Yes, you should, because it's present day.
I'll use COVID as an example. So during COVID, it got to a point because you realize this thing is not going away. What it was advertised as initially when it came in and what it became were two different things. It just morphed, and it's almost like the floods. That's what's happening with these floods now, because it's just a never-ending, long, wet, sad, drowning story. So, for me, as a diaspora, we're not physically on the ground. So there's certain things that you can do. You can seek out attention whether it's getting in touch with either whatever it is, your networks back home for, local authorities there, folks out here, organizations that can help, NGOs, whether it's here or through here, you get in touch with them, and then they get in touch with their, like their arm, like say hypothetically Red Cross, because like always when something happens, people changa, then maybe you go to your Red Cross here, you give it here, and then they disseminate those funds to the local chapter, uko nyumbani. Then of course, direct interaction with your people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be, when I say your people, it doesn't have to be your blood, but it's those who you're actually in touch with.
Yeah.
Something that I realized during COVID that was very interesting that happened during COVID was, for instance, folks who are living, in, there's always next to, basically, there's always a good neighborhood and a slum next to it. Now, if the folks in the good neighborhood are okay, they're eating, they have a lake, they have all these other things, but these chaps who are in the slums don't.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? These chaps in the good neighborhoods are going to get attacked.
Yeah. They will be eaten.
Yes, it's going to get to a point where you're saying, I have to eat. Well, some folks who are forward thinking, who live in these areas, decided, well, what we'll do is we'll use our local church and our connections on the ground. Because the people who work for them, who help them in their homes, actually live in these slums.
Yes.
You reach out to that person then goes reach out to the community person and says, by the way, you tell them, give us a head count of how many people you guys are over there. They tell you we are 800 families, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sawa. Then guess what? Our watu in this community, vile munatoaga, that monthly thing, what is it called? Service charge or whatever. Now they are...
you go take care of them.
Yes. Because if you don't take care of them, it's just a matter of time. They're going to come and take care of you.
Yeah.
And then you distribute this food. And I know a lot of people who are actually doing that during COVID, where they were setting up at their local church. They have these guys come to the church. They have a list because they've used their local connections on the ground.
Yes.
Back to that community thing of the guys walking door to door, because they're the ones who know who live in these neighborhoods.
And the way Nairobi is structured, all these rich neighborhoods are serviced by those informal settlements.
Correct.
So all rich neighborhoods have an informal settlement somewhere close by.
Back door, behind their gate, something. These chaps are right next door. They're not going anywhere because it gets to a point, even them, they're like, I'm not going to commute kutoka Kibera to go to South Sea to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So I'm going to live somewhere close to there and I can't afford rent. So guess what? Kuna kamali kakijiji tunaweza jisunda and they'll go.
So I think, I've always wanted to understand these informal settlements because when we talk about Nairobi, that's Nairobi. That's where majority of Nairobi's population lives.
100%.
Whether people like it or not, whether people know it or not, I think about 65% of Nairobi's population live in informal settlements. By informal settlements, we mean it's not like ghetto. When you think of a ghetto here in the US, it's not that at all. It's a structure. It could either be a tin structure, it could either be a structure built out of matope or whatever it is. That's where majority of Nairobi lives, and there's a whole ecosystem. It's like a mini city.
Yes.
That's running there, a whole economy.
Yes.
Where things are happening in there. Now, what I don't know, even and now that's us looking out here from the diaspora, is how sustainable this is, because there's families that have lived like that for generations.
Yes.
And now that population is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And when plans are being made, in terms of roads, they're never factored in.
No, they never are.
They're never factored
because
in.
they're
the roads and sewerage and whatever are never factored.
Yeah, because they are. I guess I'll say it this way, and hopefully folks don't take it the wrong way. They're not the ones who are paying taxes who are in those areas, for lack of a better word. You get what I'm saying? Meaning they're they're spending their money there.
They're day laborers. They're not.
They're not the guys.
Most of them.
They're not the ones who you're counting with pin numbers who are telling you that as guys me niko Langata niko wapi. You get what I'm saying?
Hakuna pay as you want.
I guess if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah,
Because pay as you want.
Economy.
It's a cash economy.
Yes,
I
right.
work for you today, you pay me.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true.
That
That
is
is
it.
true. Yes,
It's not a pay.
Yes, it's a
not-
cash economy.
Yeah.
And those guys. Do you know the Kijiji in Langata?
The Kijiji in Langata, I'm not gonna say
No,
it's recent.
Southlands.
Yeah,
No,
but
it's semi-recent
it's
because
semi-recent.
it's 80. I think I'd say 85.
yeah, because that area never
Probably, I
used to
think.
have, because the
No.
Kijiji used to be in Kibra.
It was a
But
Kibra,
now,
yes.
in Langata, there's a Kijiji that developed
Correct.
there. Ilianza kimchezo, and now there's a whole Kijiji
Yes,
there.
and those guys are right now. You ask them how ni wasewa Langata.
Yeah, the
But-
Langata constituency.
Yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, correct. But then the way it started was it was a field. Kulikuwa na ka kiosks. These jamas used to go back and forth between there and Kibera, and they'd have to cross over, and that's before waliweka bypass and all of that stuff, you know. And after a while, someone's like, "Hey, why am I killing myself to go to Kibich? Si neza lala tu hapa."
I can just stay here. Yeah.
So it's either they lala in the kiosk or they build like a small structure behind the kiosk.
Behind the kiosk.
And
yeah.
that's how it started.
That's how it started.
You end up having families there. The kids are born there. There's a school right there. They go to school right there. And so on and so forth. And that's how that Kijiji started. Now, you can't move those guys. Where are you going to move them to?
No, you can't. I
And
mean,
where are they going to be absorbed?
This is a very complicated problem. But then again, I think the problem is that there's parts of the world that have solved these kinds of problems.
Correct.
But the problem we have is that we have a broken political system, which loves when there's poverty, because that's a variable that politicians like, that they will use.
It is their best variable.
Yes, and then we have a political system which rewards things that can be seen on the surface. If you show up with a truck and start distributing unga, that's a political event that will gain you votes. But when you go and do stuff that will actually help in the long run, like design a sewer system, try to figure out
or
how
a borehole or
Yes.
something.
Those are things that are not visible. You know, like in a sewer system, you cannot put Jalango built this, and people are not seeing it. So now the problem is that politicians are in a position where they can't prioritize those things that are meant to be priorities. And that's a reason why we have this problem that used to be small, but now it has grown and it has become unmanageable. You have
Yes.
generations.
And it's all over.
That have lived
It's not only Langata is just an example.
Yeah.
I saw it happening like this, like a joke, and you saw it happen as well.
Yeah.
The
I know.
place that I'm surprised I haven't seen one, and I guess I don't spend enough time around there. Sijaona moja Nairobi West. And
So
maybe-
Nairobi West is being serviced. You know, Nairobi West is surrounded all over, everywhere.
Yeah, I was
But
saying
Nairobi
maybe
West,
there's no.
There's no space. There's no because Nairobi West now, that Langata Kijiji services Langata. It services South Sea, Nairobi West,
Correct.
Madaraka. That's where, you know, like a lot of these
Yeah.
house helps work there. You know, like security guards.
Nairobi Dam,
Yes,
all of those.
It services all those
Yep,
areas, and of
yep.
course all the way up to Karen. I mean, Karen has also been serviced by Kibra,
Yes.
partially. And then when you go to parts like Ngong Road, those slums now service now all
Yes.
those particular areas. So this is a problem that if not handled, it's already problematic as it is. And then the other problem that was mentioned by that community activist from Mathare is that the way the constituencies have been drawn, they've deliberately, you know, like separated people, especially in Mukuru. So it's one big slum, but I think they're split, I believe, into like maybe 3 constituencies. I believe Makadara is one of them. I believe there might be one of the Embakasis. So they can't organize together. So even if they want to organize together, huyu anakuambia MP wangu ni huyu mwingine anakuambia MP wangu ni yule. So it's very problematic, you know, and this needs a long-term solution.
What are
This-
the MCAs doing?
The
'Cause these are their
the,
people.
the activist is called Anami Daudi Ture.
Yeah, very amazing guy. You know,
Very.
like that.
Go
that's
to
a
Spice
guy.
FM, look
Yeah.
for under videos, look for the impact of riparian demolitions in Mukuru, Nairobi. Anami Daudi Ture.
If we could get Anami Daudi Ture on the One Mic Show, it would be very amazing. Anybody who knows him, please give us his contact.
Because this guy is
He
Akokwa
lives
ground.
there. He lives there. Yeah, and I think it's important because there's Nairobi. You know, like sometimes I wonder that how I grew up in Nairobi. I always knew that these slums were there, but it was kind of like we were so separated.
We
So
were.
the realities of people living in those spaces was totally alien to us. You know, like we would see people come, work in our houses as house helps, work as security guards, you know, like go home. And there are some who are day scholars, go home. But, you know, like you never stop to ask yourself,
Huyu mtu anakaa wapi
who
na-
mtu anakaa wapi?
na-
They earn a very small amount of
ama wacha
money.
niende kwao nione.
Yeah, I know. Even as an employer.
Yeah, it's man, when you go over there and you see that there is no sewer line. The sewer line is there.
Yeah. you know,
It's there.
You know,
They
this
step
is-
in the sewer line is there as they come in and out of your house.
You know,
Aye.
this is very sad.
Yeah.